Credit score is a trap for poor people. Rich people use this instead. Let me ask you a question that's going to mess with your head. If credit scores are so important, why don't rich people care about theirs? Think about that for a second. The wealthiest people you know, the ones with real money, real assets, real freedom, they don't obsess over their FICO score. They don't refresh Credit Karma every Tuesday. They don't cry when Chase closes their card. Meanwhile, the average person in the hood treats their credit score like it's the report card that decides their whole life. And I'm here to tell you that the game has been rigged and nobody explained the actual rules. Your credit score is not what you think it is. It's not a measure of how rich you are. It's not a measure of how responsible you are. It's a measure of one thing and one thing only: how good you are at paying back debt you shouldn't have taken out in the first place. I'm Ravi, and I spend way too much time thinking about the systems that quietly keep people broke while making them feel like they're doing everything right. If you're ready to hear a take on credit that nobody else is telling you, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it. First, let me be honest with you about what a credit score actually is, because most people have no clue. Your credit score is a number the banks use to decide how likely you are to pay back a loan. That's it. That's the whole thing. It's not a score of how smart you are with money. It's not a score of how much money you have. It's not a score of how successful you are. It's literally a rating that tells lenders whether it's safe to lend you their money. Now think about that for a second. The higher your score, the more the banks want to give you loans. The more loans you take, the more interest you pay them. So the entire game is designed to reward you for being a good borrower, not for being wealthy. In fact, you can have $1 million in the bank and a bad credit score because you never used credit. And you can be broke as a joke with an 800 score because you've been paying minimums on cards for 10 years like a good little customer. That should tell you something. Here's where the trap really tightens. In the hood, we are taught that a high credit score is the ultimate goal. Your mom told you. Your teacher told you. The finance guru on Instagram told you. Get your score up, they said. That's the key. That's how you make it. So you play the game. You get a Capital One card at 19. You pay the minimum every month. You get another card. You pay it too. You finance a car you can't afford because they told you it'll help your score. You keep the credit card balances just under the limit because you heard 30% utilization is bad. You never miss a payment. And 10 years later, you have an 800 credit score, no assets, no savings, and you're still living paycheck to paycheck. Congratulations, you won the game they wanted you to play. Meanwhile, let me tell you what rich people are actually doing. Rich people don't chase credit scores. They chase assets. They chase cash flow. They chase ownership. When a rich person wants to buy a house, they don't necessarily need a great personal credit score because they buy it through an LLC. When they want a car, they either pay cash or lease it through a business. When they want to grow their money, they don't ask a bank for a personal loan. They use business credit or private lenders or their own liquid capital. Their personal credit score isn't the engine of their financial life. It's a small accessory. Because their whole game is played on a different board. The board where you own the assets and the assets pay you. Now here's the thing I need you to understand. And this is where I have to be real fair with you. I'm not saying credit scores are worthless. If you're renting an apartment, you need decent credit. If you're buying your first house with an FA loan, you need decent credit. If you want a car loan at a reasonable rate, you need decent credit. So don't hear me wrong. Credit scores matter. But they matter as a tool, not as a trophy. The problem isn't having a good credit score. The problem is worshipping the credit score like it's the end game. It's not the end game. It's a stepping stone. And most people in the hood are polishing the stepping stone while everybody else is walking past them to the next level. So what are rich people actually using instead? Let me break it down. Number one, they use business credit. Once you own a business, even a small LLC, you can start building credit under that business's name. That credit is separate from your personal credit. That credit can be used to buy real estate, equipment, and inventory without touching your personal life. Most people in the hood have never even heard of business credit, but the wealthy have been playing this game for generations. Number 2. They use assets as collateral. When a rich person needs money, they often don't sell their investments and pay taxes. They take a loan against their portfolio. It's called a securities-backed line of credit. They borrow at a low interest rate against their own stocks, use that money to invest or buy more assets, and never touch their pile. Number 3. They use relationships. Rich people have private bankers. They have access to lending that's not based on FICO, but based on their total net worth, their income, and their relationships with the bank. That door doesn't open with a 780 credit score. It opens with a portfolio, a business, and a track record. Number 4. They use cash. Sounds simple, but there's a reason rich people can walk into a dealership and drop 60,000 on a car. Because when you have real money, you don't need to finance depreciating assets. You save the interest and you buy the thing outright. That freedom is worth more than any FICO score. And this is where the trap really hurts. Because the hood was never taught this game. We were taught to play the credit score game, because that's the only game the banks want us to play. As long as you're focused on getting your score from 620 to 720, you're not focused on starting an LLC. You're not focused on investing in index funds. You're not focused on building assets that pay you. The banks love it because you keep paying them interest while you brag about your score to your friends. You're a good customer. And a good customer is a broke customer with a high FICO. Let me tell you what happens to people who wake up and realize this. They start playing a different game. They stop treating their credit score like an identity and start treating it like a tool. They use their credit to build. They open a business credit card and use it to fund inventory for a side hustle. They save cash aggressively so they don't need to finance every want. They start investing money they used to spend, making minimum payments. They start seeing debt as a strategic weapon, not a lifestyle. And slowly, without anybody noticing, their whole financial life starts flipping. Their assets start climbing. Their income streams start multiplying. Their credit score becomes irrelevant because they don't need Chase to approve them for anything. They approve themselves. So let me ask you a question. When was the last time you checked your credit score? And when was the last time you checked your net worth? Because most people know their credit score down to the point. But if you ask them what their net worth is, they'd have no idea. That's how you know the game is working exactly as designed. The metric that keeps you a customer is the one you obsess over. The metric that would set you free is the one you never track. Here's what I want you to do starting today. Stop making your credit score the main character in your financial life. Keep it healthy, sure, pay your bills on time. Keep your utilization reasonable. But stop celebrating a 780 like it's a graduation. It's not. It just means you've been really good at paying the banks on time. Instead, start tracking your net worth every single month. That's the number that actually matters. Assets minus liabilities. That's the number rich people watch. That's the number that tells you if you're actually winning. Most people who watch this video are going to keep chasing that credit score because it's what they know. That's fine. That's their choice. But you, the one still watching right now, you already know something is off. You already sense that the rules you've been told to follow don't seem to actually lead anywhere. Trust that instinct. Play a different game. Because the game they gave you was never designed for you to win. If this hit you, hit like, subscribe, and share this with somebody who needs to hear it. I'll see you in the next one.